Hey guys, welcome to this C programming tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to program a salary calculator. It's basically a program as shown here on your screen that will take the number of worked hours and calculate your tax based on the tax percentage, your UIF, which is unemployment benefit, and then your net pay, that's your take home salary. Then when you choose option E, it will display the result. If you hit X, then the program will exit. So for instance, if we can demonstrate quickly here, if I hit A, enter, then the program will ask me to enter the number of worked hours. I say 45 hours for a week, and then it will ask to calculate the tax. Then it says operation done. Then it's already calculate my tax based on the input, the hard-coded salary already for a weekly. Then from that, it will calculate your UIF. You have to enter option C, operation done. Then that's your UIF. Now we're not using currency signs, so this could be in any form of currency. That's up to you. Then you can calculate your net pay as well by entering D, operation done. There is your net pay, 8,000 something there. Then you can display the result. Then the result, it's a little bit shift, but we will fix it on the program that we're going to write. So this is just a demonstration. If you hit X, the program exit successfully. So in this series of tutorial, we're going to see how we can implement that demonstration program. Okay, so let's get right into it. The first thing we're going to do is let's run this program and see what's the output here. Okay, the output is hello world. Okay, so we just want to clean up. I like getting a clean screen. By clean screen, what I mean is if you run this program again, you see this process return that just tell you the system executed well. If we don't want that, now to remove that, it's simple. You just have to get your system to wait for a user input, and then there will be nothing on your screen like this. Okay, so now the first thing to do here is we need to create a header file, because we're going to write a couple of functions that will perform operations for us. So I don't want us to write everything here, then it's going to be not very neat. We're gonna create a library. I've got a video that shows how to create a C programming library. You can look it up in the description box. Now to do that, to create our library, we're just going to go File, New, Create File. Then we're going to choose a header file. Then we're going to save it into this project. So we just call it salary calculator. It's going to be a .h file. Debug release, fine. Then here it is. So it's already placed into a header folder for the project directory. Now you can see clearly it's still an empty file. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of this C libraries. These are the standard libraries, so we put them in here, and that way we can just call in a one include, which is going to be our salary calculator header file. So by doing that, we're basically accessing this. If we run the program again, the program will compile without any problem. So the next thing to do is we're going to create a menu. To do that, we need to create the function that will display our menu. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. Then I'm going to create a variable, character type variable. I'm gonna call it select and initialize it to 0. So this variable is going to hold a character that we are going to be calling. So what we will do is then we're gonna say select will be equal to menu. So menu is a function that will display our menu on the output screen. Now right now, if I run this, there will be an error because we don't have a function menu yet. The program will obviously complain because there is no menu. that is created. So what we need to do is we need to create this menu program so that the program can recognize it. As you can see right here, it says undefined reference menu. Okay, so the function returned exit 1, so it returned a value of 1, so there is an error. If it returns 0, then there is no error, so the function have executed successfully. So return 1 means the function did not execute successfully. Reason why? There is this problem, so we need to create this function. So what do we do in order to create this function? We're going to create a new source file. So we go, as we've already created the header file, we go to the same procedure, then we say source and then C source file. That's correct. Then we're going to call it exactly the same name, salary calculator. This time it's going to be a .c file. So now we got our C source file. That is an empty file. Now what we're going to do is this source file needs some library as well. We already have our library here. So what we're going to do is we're going to call the source file also here. So we're going to call the header file in the salary calculator. Then we're now going to create the function of car menu. Now you know it's a function of tag character, so it's not a void function, so which means this function must return something. So it has to return something. What is it going to return? It must return a value. So we're going to say car val. So that is what the function is going to return. Then we say return car val, like that. Now if we run, we're still going to have a problem. Why? Because we don't have a function prototype yet. So we now come here, we create the function prototype. So that is car menu, like that. Now we have a function prototype. Now if we run this program, I am certain that it's not going to crash anymore, because this header file got the function prototype here, and this function prototype is pointing us to this function. So let's run it and see if the problem will go away. Okay, we still have a problem. What does it say? Okay, we forgot a double quote there to close that header file. And we run again. Boom. So the program is running. Obviously, there is nothing to show because we are basically inside a main loop and we are not displaying anything. So if we want to display something, we can just print F here and then we just say test. Okay, then we go into our main and run it again. Then we should have test in our screen. There is test on our screen, so which means the program is working. Okay, so we know that according to the demonstration program that we've shown, so according to this demonstration program, we are running, this is running in a continuous loop as long as the select is not equal to X, because this is what the select is waiting. So if we enter X here, we're going to exit the loop and the program will terminate and close. Now what that means is we are running on a continuous loop. That is a do while loop. So we're doing while select value is not equal to X. So what that means is we're going to now use a do while loop into our program so that we can run the menu. Remember, the menu here is we are expecting a value to be returned from the menu. We're going to sort that out later. So we first create our do while loop, like that. So now this is the do while what? So we're going to run this loop while select is not equal to what? Exit. But now we've got another problem. What's the problem? Exit does not exist. We don't have a variable exist. So if we run this code right now, there's going to be a problem. And the problem is exactly, it says error exit is undeclared. So we need to go ahead and declare this. But before we do that, let's just copy this and put it inside the function, because that way it must be. So that is there. Now we need to go ahead and create a variable exit, declare it. So we're going to declare it into our header file in a form of a micro. So let's go ahead and do that. So what we do is we define. So we are defining now a micro. It's a these micro variable, usually they don't occupy memory spaces. They are very handy for writing large codes. So we say exit and we pass a character to it with a value of x. So now our program will be looking at that. Now if we run this again, I am almost certain that the error is gone because now exit is defined. Now you can see now we are stuck in this do while loop. Because why? The loop is still valid because select that we are waiting is not equal to exit. What is the value of select? Nobody knows what's the value of select. Because if we come here, select is expecting a return value for this function. Because that's what we say, select is equal to menu. Now menu function here still is returning as it's a junk. If you have to put this program into a debug mode and run this code, you clearly see there will be a bunch of junk or address wherever this character is storing right now. That's what we're gonna get. And it's not equal to exit. This is why the loop is continuous. Okay, so now we go into our menu function here. That is this function. Now we need to implement our menu. But first, let's make this function to accept the user input. So which means we have to prompt. So normally what we're going to do, we're just going to write on the screen. And then we're going to say, please choose an option. Just like that. Please choose an option. Don't forget the semicolon there. And then the option is going to now be what the user input going to be. That is now going to be our car value, the value of the car. So we're going to make it 2 uppercase because we're expecting it to be upper as per our micro there. So we say get car. You know we introduced this function in the beginning, so it's a wait user input. So we get the car, and then the good thing to do is to flash the input with this function, which is a window-based function that allow you to flash the standard input, because it's going to be full of chunks if you don't do that, because remember you are running a continuous loop while doing this. So we just flash it to allow our program to breathe. So let's run this program again. There we go. So now you can see the user. The program is waiting for a user input, just as we saw in our demonstration program there. Okay, but you can see test could be our menu, but then they are almost on top of each other. So we have to do something here. So maybe we can enter into a new line on this one. Maybe 2 double new line. Let's see what it does. Okay, so 2 double new lines separates the 2 strings, and now we clearly see what's going on. We can hit X. So now we've exited the program, but we are not handling the exit yet. What do we do when we exit? Now we're outside the loop, but what do we do? So we will handle that later. But now, if you look at our demonstration program, this is in the center of the screen, unlike what we are having here. So we need to design the code so that we can place our menu right in the center, as we can see here, and beautifully. Now the way to do that is by using this new line and tabs. For instance, if we include tabs here, it's going to shift test somehow with the tab function. So you see it's have shifted. But now this means we're going to be using a lot of tabs here. We're going to be using a lot of tabs and new line, and that's not going to look very neat. So I'm going to introduce a new function here that is a Windows function, and we're going to take advantage of that function. So we're going to create a function that will basically, instead of using tabs and new lines, we are going to be using the coordinates. Remember, there are coordinates here. You have your X coordinate and your Y coordinate. So we're going to write a function that will basically talk to those coordinates. So let's see how we can implement it. So the first thing to do here is we come into the header files here. We're going to add a new library, and we include, and the library name is going to be windows.h. So that's the name of the library. After adding this library, then we're going to come to this same header file, and we're going to include a function prototype. Now the function prototype, now we're calling that function, it's a void function because it's not returning anything, but it's just shifting our cursor to different position into our console. So we just say go to XY basically, and the function must take some parameters. So we say int X and int Y. Now the parameter will be the coordinate for X and the coordinate of Y. So the value that you're going to include here, that's exactly where your cursor is going to go. Now that we've done this, the next thing to do is now to just write that functions. So let's go ahead and write the functions. So we just say void go to XY, int X, int Y. Now we can start implementing the code for our function. Let's run this, see if we are still okay here, because it's important. Okay, we still don't have an error. Okay, so now let's start writing our code for this function. Now this function is very straightforward. It's going to take us two different coordinates into our console application. So we're going to call the coordinate code based on the Windows console, and then we're going to pass the parameters for this coordinate. We say 0 and 0 semicolons, and then since we've already defined code, then we're going to say code for X is going to be small x, and then the coordinate for Y coordinate is going to be the small y, and this small x and y is exactly what we're going to be passing here. That's what they are. And then the main part of the function is the Windows function that says set console cursor position. This one here, set console cursor position. And this function takes two parameters. The one parameter is another function that says get std handle, right here at the bottom, get std handle. And then we're going to pass the parameter for that. It's going to be std underscore output handle. And then the next coordinate will be the codes that we're going to be passing to the function. So that is this x and y. So once we enter those values, Windows is going to know what to do based on this function. This is a hard code function from Windows. So we just using it here for our advantage. Okay. So now this function is all well and set. Let's run it and see if we don't have an error here. Okay, the program is still running. So let's see if we can implement it. Right here, we're not even going anywhere. So to call this function is very easy. Which instead of using these tabs here, we can remove these tabs. Let's just remove these tabs and the new line as well. Let's run this function again and see what will happen here. You can see the mess is back. But now we got a solution for it, don't worry. So we just call our function go to x, y. Now we need to pass the coordinate. Where do we want to go? Let's say, for instance, we on the x-axis, this is the x-axis, we want to be maybe 10 unit. And then on the y, we want to be 5. Let's just see where the test will go. Okay, you see, now test, everything is moving. So what we need to do is, because the go to, that's where the cursor is going, so we need to add another go to on here. So we're going to be on the same y, but then we move to a new line. So let's say we move this to 6, because that's the y coordinate is going to be our line, the x coordinate is going to be where it stands. So you can see clearly, so we move to 10 on the x coordinate and 5 on the y, that is a y, and then the next one we stays on 10 on the x coordinate, and y we move to 6. That's why it's at the bottom of text. So if we put this 5, we run this program again, you can clearly see please choose an option is overriding the test because it's sitting on top of it. So we have to put that 6 so that we don't be on top of it. So now let's move these things a little bit up. So we're gonna say 4 and then 5. So we just move a little bit up. Okay, so it's working. And then the next thing to do here, clearly you can see that our menu is coming alive. So we're going to now change test here. We're going to say salary calculator. Salary calculator. Okay, and this is choose an option. So we're going to include another go to, because remember our menu need to look something like this. So that is what we are aiming at. So which means, so if we use another go to, I just want to copy here so that we can move a little bit faster. Then this is going to be the underlining. Okay, that's the underlining. So this is 5, then this one must move to 6, but let's move this way down, so making 10. Okay, so let's run. Okay, so we can see something is coming alive here. Something is clearly coming alive. Let's move this one a little bit to 12. Okay, 12. This one stays there. Then we need to enter one option. Okay, so here is our menu that have been completed. We can run this and check if our menu is there. So we can clearly see we have a menu that is very much similar to this. We got please select here, we got please choose an option. Okay, so we got our option. Our menu is a little bit too stuck up, so we just have to perhaps just create some spaces in between them, and that's going to be easy. Let's see if we can just add those spaces. That basically mean this one is on 6, this one must just be 8, and this must be 10, 11, no, 10, 12, and that must be 14, and that must be 16. So this one can probably go to 18. Let's run it again and see. Okay, so here is the salary calculator menu. So I'm going to stop this video here because it's getting a little bit too long. And please guys, stay tuned for the next tutorial. That is now when we are going to see. Remember, please choose an option is waiting for all these options to be selected. So we're now going to hard code each one of these options. What do we do when a user select one of the options, and then return back to our program. Thank you for watching. Please give it a thumbs up if it was useful to you, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Cheers.